Hi everyone, I'm Barbara Beck and I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Welcome Home. On today's program, we're going to be talking about ways that we can serve the underserved. Who are they and how can we come alongside people who are disenfranchised or even simply ignored by others? Particularly, we're going to be talking about the disabled. I'm sure you've heard it said that there are over 40 million Americans with disabilities. How are we doing as Christians in befriending and serving the disabled? Our key verse for today will help illuminate the importance of serving the least of these. Listen to Jesus' words in Matthew 25:40 when he said, "Inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it to me." In other words, when we serve others, the least of these, as Scripture calls them, we're serving Jesus. Well, you're going to be super inspired by one woman's unexpected journey into the world of disabilities as Marie Cook from Nathaniel's Hope shares her personal story about her profoundly disabled son's life and how God turned that challenge into a worldwide ministry that serves families with disabilities. And Marie has also brought a family here with us to give us a glimpse into the joys and struggles of everyday life with disabled children. You'll be inspired as well and maybe challenged to find ways to serve the underserved. But before we get to our honored guests, let's see what the current ladies have to say about their own personal experiences with the disabled community. Welcome, ladies.
Hello.
Hi.
Glad to have everybody here with us, especially Deborah Jackson, pastor at River of Life Christian Center. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Glad that you're here today. You all, I'm sure, have found out how important it is to teach our children how to serve the underserved, right?
Amen.
Are we doing it?
Yeah.
Are you guys doing it with your kids?
Trying.
Yeah.
What are some examples of ways and maybe some personal experiences that you've had? I guess I need to get a little more specific to get you guys to talk today.
Oh, that was a question.
That was actually a
okay.
question. That meant tell me some of your things. What have you had? Kristen, I'll start with you.
I will say that I think that Charlie's school, my oldest son's school, does a really great job of integrating children with special needs into the classroom. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they're standalone classes, and then other times a child with some disabilities might have half the day in his special education classroom, and then the other half the day in the other classrooms.
Right,
with,
integrated.
Yes, with more mainstream classes. And what I've loved about that is I've really seen an opportunity where Charlie or his buddies or his friends, they just realize that these kids are like every other kid. Mm-hmm. They may have some differences, but it allows them at a young age to interact with kids who may be different or may, impulsively shout out something or maybe super excited. I think I shared with you all last year about this little boy, Tommy, who came into Charlie's classroom every day. And I got to experience the classroom. I saw this on the last day of school. They had a class party. And Tommy came in, and the teacher gave out awards to every child for something different. And I don't even remember what Tommy's was, but Tommy's eyes, when he got his award, his eyes got this big. He leapt up and down, and all the kids jumped up and they shouted, and they were so excited for Tommy. They were happy for their own awards, but I loved seeing how the public school was doing such a good job at such an early age of integrating all the kids together and just really promoting friendship. I feel like if we can start that at an earlier age, then hopefully there won't be as much bullying or there won't be as much ostracism that occurs as kids get older. So that just really warmed my heart.
I think that's great parenting, and it's great whatever the administration is doing at that school, because oftentimes bullying is the norm. That doesn't even sound like the norm to me. You see a kid who's different than you are, then most children are going to be, oh, what's wrong with that kid? And so how can we as parents and grandparents, keep that from happening?
And I think sometimes it's the uncomfortability. I think we've even spoken about that before. People don't know how to deal with people who aren't just like them. Yeah. And I think if we can teach our children how to be comfortable with people who aren't the same as us, I think it helps them get comfortable when they're different. I've got kids who are they're not like ever, they're not out playing football, they're not out, and so they've sort of had to be on the opposite side. They can be the different ones at times, and there's probably people out there who are watching that. And you know, I've had to learn to help my kids learn to accept themselves and to integrate with other kids. It goes both ways. That you know, that you have to learn that other people maybe just don't understand, so help them understand. And you know, it really goes both ways for the person who's got the child and for the other people who your children. You know, you're sitting there when you walk into a room going, oh, I just pray that people just love on my children today. You know, just treat them like they're special, treat them like they're not strange. But kids need a chance to get that opportunity to see them as normal, to find their connection spaces. And I think that is what we as parents can do, is instead of trying to teach people to see the differences, let's come in and try to find what we have in common.
I think that it's important. I'm glad you brought up bullying, because there's so many opportunities for children to bully, not just in school, but on the internet. But I think it all goes back to parenting, because all of us are different. Even the ladies that are sitting at this table, we're all different. Different height, different sizes, different colors of their skin, different hair color. But in essence, we are the same. We're a human being. And we need to sit down and talk to our children, train our children. We're so apt to give up our training position that has been given to us by God. We're to train our children. When they go to school, they are to know how to carry themselves. They have to understand that they're different. All children are different. And you may treat them different according to the needs they have. So you have to make sure that your children understand that this person may have a special need, but all children are special. So when you put that person as a special needs child, all our children are special.
That's right.
This person just happens to need more than another child may need, but they're all special. So, and that's what we're going to have to do with our children. Train our children. Bring it from home. And when they go to school, they'll know how to handle that situation. And what's happening, we've kind of looked over that. Oh, that's just Johnny, that's a special needs child. All our children are special.
Oh, I love that.
And we should treat them all with what they need and get that to them.
One of our really good friends has a child who has Asperger's disease, and so on the outside, he doesn't look any different, but his social interactions are different, and they're really, really, really good friends of ours. And so we've had lots of conversation about how his heart, when people treat him differently, and when he doesn't know how to react to something, how much it hurts his heart. And it's been super powerful, I think, for each of us in our family just to realize, because we love him. We love Dean so much that it hurts us because Chase is the same age as him, and something happened at school the other day, and he was explaining to me, and he said, you know, I just told the other kids, the other guys, you know, like that hurts his feelings, like, you know, and it's, but until I think sometimes you're close to somebody and you do overlook it. I am very guilty, I think, of thinking, well, I don't really know anybody, or that hasn't really affected me. But then when you get somebody that's so close to you, and it hits so close to home, it's hard. It's really hard. My heart hurts for my friends when they're, you know, because she was telling me about, you know, going forward in life and college and what that'll look like and how it'll be different. And it's just not easy, you know.
And it's hard for the families. I mean, the parents, I mean, I've got several friends that their kids have some little things and issues and disabilities, and the moms will cry out to me when we're together saying, you know, it's really hard to have friends. Because even being with other families, the families want other families who it's all normal so they can be. And you have to be willing to go outside. It's back what we were talking a little earlier. We want to teach. We live in a society that is so teaching us to be so what makes me comfortable, what makes my life better, what makes it easier, instead of being like Jesus and being willing to get in the trenches. I love how you said that, being willing to do the hard things and be friends with these people that they're wonderful. The children are wonderful. They really need us to come alongside them and be their friends and love them and make them feel that they have a place. All of us need a place to belong.
You know, there's a great event coming up, and it's Marie Cook with Nathaniel's Hope. She does this incredible thing called Make 'em Smile. Carolyn has been a part of this for years and years and years, and that is one of the neatest things that I've ever been to. I see Carolyn up there singing with these kids, You Raise Me Up, and all the kids gather around her and sing as well. But I know, and I want you to talk about it. First, I want to just encourage our viewers today to really hear this. It's an event, if you live locally in Central Florida, at Lake Eola on June 2nd, there's an event for Marie's deceased son in honor of him and his birthday. She gives the biggest birthday party with 40,000 people who come out and are a part of this, walking around Lake Eola and befriending people with special needs. And she calls them VIPs, which is very important people. And that's how, Deborah, like you said, that's how we need to be looking at them. They're not special, because we're all special, but they are very important people. And so if we're in a position where we have kids and grandkids who have not been exposed to kids with special needs, that's an opportunity. It's free. You go out there, you eat Chick-fil-A sandwiches, you get together, you get down on the ground, you get in the bouncy house, whatever you want to do. Carolyn, talk about it, because you love it, right?
I do. I think this is my 12th or 13th year, and Maria is a really good friend of mine, and she just has such a big heart for reaching out to those who have been through what she's been through. I mean, she sat there and held her son while he passed away in her arms, and he never spoke, he never ate, but she still loved him, and he was still important. God had a plan and a purpose for his life. And now she is, like you said, she's doing this big party every year. I mean, I think there was 30 or 40,000 people. Now she is growing and expanding. She's in over 300 churches now with this Buddy Break, empowering churches how to reach out to the disabled. I don't even like calling them disabled, but the special needs. I really would rather call them. But these special families and kids, you now can be a part of that. And so many people are wanting to be a part. They just don't know how. And I think she's given the opportunity. And so we go that day, and like you said, we will bring hundreds. I mean, there could be 500 of these special needs kids come up on stage with us. And man, we just begin to sing, I Believe I Can Fly. And I just got, it's funny, I just got an email, Maria just sent it to me, from a lady today that she said, I went to a thing called Make 'em Smile, and all I did was cry all day. She said, because my child felt normal, was celebrated. She said, I celebrate my child, but everyone around me was celebrating my child and making him know how special he was, that he wasn't a mistake. And, you know, it was the one day to forget all life stuff. And she's just doing a powerful work, and the people's lives are being so changed.
And you think about Marie when she had this little baby boy. It happened 20 years ago, and I can't remember how old he was when he died, 5 or 6 years old, something like that. Okay, so they had this little baby who, you know, they know, because their faith is great, that this child has purpose in life. They could not have dreamed what that purpose was going to be, to affect that many people. Hundreds of thousands of people, you know, have come to know the Lord, and to see that these special needs people have purpose in life. So I think it's important for us to focus on their purpose as well.
When I look at that, I think about that God will change, even in the midst of your situation, He'll cause it to be a testimony to other people. And when you're going through it, it doesn't seem like it doesn't make any sense to you. But whoever would have thought through this child that so many people would be blessed. See how God just changes that, and He changes you in the midst of that situation, so that you can bless other people through what you've gone through. I just love God, the way He just works things out. He'll work it out according to His purpose, and it'll work out for your good all the time, even in what we call a bad situation.
Over the weekend, or maybe it was earlier this week, Charlie and I were driving somewhere, my 11-year-old, and we talk about Charlie a lot. Charlie and I butt heads the most, probably because we're the most similar. So we were butting heads in the car. He was in the front seat next to me, and we both tend to get animated and maybe escalate our voices. But and it's such a bad thing, because I'm like, every trait of his is my own trait. You know, I just see myself all my flaws play out in this child. So we were arguing, or maybe disagreeing about something, driving down the road, and here comes this 15-ish-year-old boy bounding down the street with Down syndrome. Biggest smile on his face, joy, just straight joy emanating from him. And Charlie and I both got quiet. We both noticed him. We didn't say anything, and we still haven't talked about it. Right. But I think it got both of us right here, because whatever we were discussing was probably so petty and so silly and just wasn't even important. And here comes this example of a child that God has purpose for. And he was used for us in that moment, just to remind us of God's joy in the midst of trials or circumstances, and to not be bogged down by silly stuff. I think the biggest example we saw was just joy. And both of us, I'll speak for myself, I just sat back and I was like, okay, Kristen, let's remember that piece. And it was just such a sweet little moment.
Well, and you think about it, I was talking with her the other day just about her buddy breaks, because that's what she's taken into all these churches. Her goal is to have over 1,000 churches partnering with her. Wow. I mean, she wants to empower us of how we can begin to reach out and connect the dots, connect with each other. And she was telling me, I was talking with some of the people that we were at one of the Nathaniel's Hope thing, and the lady says, you have no idea how much I love the buddy breaks, because she said, I go to my car and all I do for that 2 hours is sleep. I bring a pillow and I just sleep. And you come back home and you go, and I want to complain because my daughter didn't clean up her room.
I know.
Come on, let's keep things in perspective. Not that my kids don't need to clean up their room, but how am I handling her not cleaning up the room? Let me keep it in perspective and maybe talk to her in a different way, because when you hear these mothers and fathers who, it's 24/7, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's never a moment.
And it's not like you can just get any old babysitter to come in or 13-year-old to take care of these profoundly disabled children. And so what the buddy break is once a month at different churches in the area, and actually now all across the nation, once a month, this mom or this dad can drop off their severely disabled children for 3 hours, 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock, something like that, 3 or 4 hours. That's all they get.
Yeah.
But they are so excited to have that little bit of time to just be away and not to have to worry. So we sit here and we say, how can we serve the underserved? There are so many ways that we can do it. And Charlie, you're a challenging child in a lot of ways. My number one grandchild in order. He went to Buddy Break, and he was one of the helpers. We got him trained because he has a heart for people like that. So as many faults as our kids and our grandkids have, we've got to find ways to help them serve other people. Then it gets away from it's all about me and it's all about what I'm doing, and it's more about other people.
Another thing is, you're talking about training. We need to talk to our children about if they see another child that needs help with whatever they need help with. If you're able to lend a hand, then you be Jesus' hand that day, because it's all about being Jesus' hand. When Jesus was teaching the 5,000, after he finished teaching them, he fed them. It's hard sometimes to teach people without meeting the need.
You're right.
So you have to meet that need first, and then you can teach them, then you can train. But we as parents have the opportunity to change things from our homes, and therefore changing our school. We're so concerned about getting prayer back in school, pray at home. We are so concerned about what the school is doing for our child that we forget that we can teach some of the fundamental things as love. Caring for somebody.
That's right.
Respecting. Speaking in a kind way. And there's so much. My daughter, we as parents, we are so blessed because we have children that love the Lord. But one of my daughters is a missionary, and she's a true missionary. She loves children, and she works with kids that have special needs or whatever, as long as they know that they're important and that Jesus loves them. And I'm the hand that which he uses.
What does Scripture have to say? We need some Bible verses.
Well, I have one. I never would talk. 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace, I just got to say this and again because it hits me, is sufficient for you. For my power is made perfect in my weakness. And when I hear that scripture, I don't know what hits me is when it says is made perfect, it's made evident. That I see it in my weakness because I know it's nothing within me. It's only within Christ,
Good one. That's so good. I have Isaiah 40:29. He gives power to the weak, and to those who have no might, he increases strength.
increases the strength. Leanne, you
I have one more. Proverbs 19:17. Whoever is generous to the poor and poor in spirit lends to the Lord, and he will repay him for his deed.
Wow. I have Matthew, the 26th chapter, 11th verse. It says, "The poor you will have with you always, but you will not always have me." And what that scripture is saying is, you do what I was sent to do. When Jesus left, he gave us instructions that we are to be his hands, we are to be his voice, we are to be his legs. So we are to do what we saw Jesus do here on earth. So that's what that scripture says to me. We're to continue in the walk of Jesus Christ and what he did on this earth.
That's great. Ladies, thank you so much for being here with us today and giving us all kinds of wonderful reminders how to serve the underserved. They're out there, 40 million of them with special needs and disabilities. We need to be teaching our children and our grandchildren and our spouses and ourselves how to better serve the underserved. Stay with us because we have more coming up.
And there's things that kids with special needs can teach us that my typical kids could never teach me, you know, about perseverance, about unconditional love, about long suffering, all these things that, you know, are valuable lessons to be learned that these kids can teach us, you know.
Do you have a giving plan for 2018? I know my husband and I do. We look to the Lord to see where our giving will have the most impact. And the first place we commit to is our local church. It's very important to us to tithe to our church. But then we pray about what other ministries we should be giving to. I hope you know that Good Life 45 is a ministry. Our heart is to share Christ in compelling ways. We have so many people call, write, and email us saying that our programming brings them such comfort and draws them closer to Christ. Think about television and how many people watch. We broadcast to over 1.5 million homes in Central Florida and really around the world because of our programming being on the internet. So it's with utmost confidence that I can encourage you to give to Good Life 45. Your donations are making an eternal difference in countless lives. Please consider having our ministry as one which you support both prayerfully and financially throughout 2018. We are truly grateful for each of you. God bless you for your generosity and partnership with Good Life 45. We are where hope happens. So glad that you're here with us today, viewers. We've been talking about special needs and the importance of the church gathering around families that have special needs that are not to be felt like second-class citizens in our world. So we have a return guest with us. Marie Cook is here to tell us a little bit about her story. But before she gets to her story and her part of the journey, we want to introduce you to somebody very, very special. Shauna Campbell, thank you so much for being here with us today. Single mom with 3 very, very handsome sons, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm going to try to introduce the sons and try to remember everybody's names, and I'm going to ask you all how old you are, okay? First we have Clishawn, and you are?
10.
10 years old and so handsome. Thank you, Clishawn, for being here with us today. Then we have Tristan, and you are, no, sorry, not Tristan. This is David.
Yeah.
David is how old?
6.
6 years old. Handsome, good-looking boys, right?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And then we have Tristan, who is how many?
2.
2 or 3, right? 3 years old. We're so happy that you came. I know it is a tough journey for somebody who's a single mom, but at least you have the blessing of 3 great sons.
Yes, ma'am.
But challenges.
Very much.
Each one. Tell us what their challenges are.
Each one. Let's start with Clishawn. All 3 of them have a microcephaly, small head. They were born with small head. It's a genetic problem. Clishawn, he goes to the hospital sometimes twice a week for a blood transfusion or platelet transfusion. And now he is scheduled for a bone marrow transplant in May.
Okay.
And we lost him twice, but Nemours bring him back.
Praise
to
God.
us.
God has a special plan for you, Clishawn. He keeps bringing you back, right?
Yes.
You're going to do something very special with your life.
Yes, and they're very involved in church. I try to bring them up in the right way.
Good. They love Jesus, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, they do. All right. And then David.
David have a behavioral disability where, he'll have his outbursts and he will threaten, he will hit, he will scratch, anything to, to soothe him. You just gotta leave him alone, let he be.
Right.
Last year, February, the school called me, said that he break a guidance counselor ankle with a chair. The police was called. They escort him home with zip tie to me, and I just break down. I had to take him to speech therapy and occupational therapy today. I bring him there, and he was out of it. He was fighting. He was carrying on. And I had a social security lawyer that called me, and without me thinking, I said, I feel like I want to hurt him. I want to kill him. I want to get rid of him. And she said to me, Miss Campbell, and I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, this is Sarah with the Culbertson Law Firm, and I'm going to send you a link. Have you ever heard about Nathaniel Hope? And I said, no. I said, who is Nathaniel Hope? I never hear of the name before. And she sent me the link, and without me hesitating, I called the number, and I said, it was Miss Lisa. I said, please, I need some time to sleep, 1 hour in my car, just take my kids. And she said, we don't have any body that could help you at this time, but I'm gonna give you some numbers that you could call to see, because I didn't know how to go about the, getting to the program, the next step.
Yes.
And she said to me, she gave me the numbers, and she hung up. But God led her back to me, and she called me back, and she said, can I pray for you? And I said, yes, ma'am. And she prayed for me, and I get the strength to go home and to cook their food, to handle it, and to find the necessary people that could help me for him to go to ABA therapy, counsel, more medication, try to do the best thing. And also, with my journey, it led me closer to God.
Because that's what, Marie, that's your business. That's what you do. You have a heart for people who are hurting. And do you remember that phone call that day? And why did you even respond like you responded?
Well, in particular, Shauna's story, it overwhelmed us when Lisa got off the phone. She told us what happened, and we immediately prayed in the office for her, because this is why we do what we do, is to help families like Shauna. Because, we always say, Tim always says we had the 5 F's, faith, family, friends, flexibility, finances. We barely made it. And what about somebody who doesn't have those 5 F's? Right. And in this case, Shauna is a single parent on her own, with these 3 kids. Right. And so the importance of, particularly the church to rally around, because, one person can't meet all the needs in the community, but the church body has got to learn how to respond to these needs and to minister to these kids.
Yes. What's your biggest challenge now? Is it getting up in the morning? Is it getting through the day? Is it at night when you put the kids to bed? What's the biggest challenge you face?
My biggest challenge that I face is in the night, because I still wake up every hour. If it's not me, it's my boyfriend who wakes up and check on them, make sure that they're breathing, make sure everybody's in the house, make sure nobody jumped through the window, because I had that before, and and rest.
And rest. You just need rest.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
So in addition to praying for you and maybe recommending, Marie, some facilities, some people that can come alongside you, has she gotten involved with Buddy Break at all?
She has. You have plugged into Discovery Church, and they have just embraced this family, and the boys love the boys. They love to have them be a part of their program, and they've got lots of energy, and they have lots of fun things to do at Buddy Break, because it's it's all about the kids. It's all about, you want to stay over here with me? It's all about just meeting them one-on-one and being a friend, to give people like Shauna a break, for the.
Speaking of breaks, we're going to give the guys a little break. We're going to take a little break right now. When we come back, we're going to hear more about Shauna's story. And Marie, Marie Cook has a story. She needs to tell her story as well. So stay with us, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Marie Cook, and we're throwing the biggest party celebrating kids with special needs, our VIPs, and you're invited. Join us for Nathaniel's Hope's 16th annual Make 'em Smile Festival on Saturday, June 2nd at Lake Yola in downtown Orlando. If you have a child with special needs, come as a VIP and be our honored guest. Or join the party as a buddy. Bring your whole family and join the friendship stroll. Make a new friend as you stand in support of kids with all abilities in our community at Make 'em Smile, Saturday, June 2nd. For more information, visit nathanielshope.org.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. We've been talking about families with special needs, and you've met Shauna Campbell and heard a little bit about the challenges that she's faced as a single mom with 3 special needs, precious, adorable, beautiful sons who are gifts from God. I want you to watch this video just to hear a little bit more about her heart and some of the struggles and challenges that she faces every single day. Watch with us.
Hi, I'm Shauna Campbell. I have 3 kids with special need. On one specific day, my middle son David was arrested by the police at the age of 5, and they have to call for their supervisor. The police that assigned to the school had to call for their supervisor to come to get David because he was on the middle of the street, and a car that was passing stopped and helped the police to capture him, which they did, and they put him in a zip tie. I bring him to his occupational therapy the evening, and within 2 minutes of going there, they bring him back out. He's kicking, carrying on, he kicked my car, he dented. I'm gonna kill you. He's gonna kill everybody in the house. And I just start crying. I said, God, if it's no, I need you to give me the strength. And I said, God, I feel like killing David. I want to hurt him. I want him gone. Same time, my phone rang. It was the lawyer who called and said she need more papers for David's case. I said to her, without me thinking, I'm on the phone, I want to kill David. And she said to me, Miss Campbell, what is going on? I said, ma'am, I want to kill him. I just want him out of my life. It's too much for me to bear. They just arrested him. She said to me, I'm going to send you the link to Nathaniel Hope. And she did. And when I called, I didn't give the lady no time to say who she was.
I got a call from Shauna, and she was a broken mom. She was at the end of her rope. She was overwhelmed. She said, I need 1 hour. I just want 1 hour.
I said, I need an hour. I want to sleep. I want to sleep in my car, just an hour to take care of my kids.
We talked a little bit. We talked about Buddy Break. I explained to her the program, how to get in touch with, program that she could get keyed into, and then we hung up.
But within 2 or 3 minutes, she called me back. And she said to me, can I pray with you? And I said, yes, ma'am, you may.
I prayed for her and asked for God's, strength and support for her to help her with her children.
When she prayed for me, I find myself with the strength to move on and to go home, fix dinner, bathe them, and take care of them for that day.
So it was a Wednesday or Thursday, and I'd received an email and a phone call from a VIP mom asking if we had space for her VIP kids at our program at Discovery Church. And at that time, going into that month, we were already on a wait list. I reached out to her and had a phone conversation, and the desperation in her voice just really touched my heart. So I told her I'd get back with her in a couple of days, and I reached out to my leadership team, just started praying about it, and just, God, if you want these kids to be here this weekend, and I just felt like He did, that He would provide a way. And like He always does, He shows up, and He did. We had 2 kids call out sick, and 1 VIP child ended up having to go out of town last minute. So I was able to have a spot for all 3 of her kids.
From that first Saturday when my kids enter here at Nathaniel Hope, the Body Break program, it has been a difference in their life. It takes David 2 months in order for him to talk to the volunteer here. But he come and he's excited. He's now talking to them, playing.
I was so excited when they walked in that next Saturday morning. You could just see the burden being released off her, and her kids came in happy to see us, and they were just the sweetest, cutest. They're one of our favorite families here at Discovery.
Every month, my kids are happy to come here, especially my oldest one. He said, Mommy, it's that time again. You're gonna take your break.
I think Buddy Break is super important. We go on a waiting list every month, and the need out there in the community, I think the statistics that I had read years ago was that we had over, 30,000 kids just in Orange County. So we're not even scratching the surface by providing this care. And just the moms that I've encountered personally, it's really the only break they get.
Body Break has been a safe place for me and my kids. I really don't trust people with my kids, and I come here and I feel safe, and my kids feel safe of their surrounding. And thank Body Break and thank Nathaniel Hope and the volunteers that always show up each and every month to take care of these kids.
Wow, I know that when I first saw Shauna's video, my heart was strangely touched, because I was thinking, what would I do in that position? And then secondly, and maybe more importantly, how can I come alongside families like that? A single mom like Shauna, who has really no one to turn to except for Nathaniel's Hope and Marie Cook and her organization that has helped her. But if we're not involved with that, what can we do as Christ followers to come alongside people like Shauna and other families with special needs? What can we do as a church besides turning our heads and looking the other way because we're uncomfortable? Well, I think the person who can best answer that question is Marie Cook, who is the founder of Nathaniel's Hope, and she can give us some great insight. Thanks so much, Marie, for being here with us today.
Thanks, Barbara. There's so many moms like Shauna that are in our world today, and only 10% of people that have disability impact in their family even attend church. And I think it's not because people don't know, they don't want to go to church. I don't think the church doesn't want to receive them. They just don't know what to do. So I think the biggest thing is helping people get over their fear, So when you meet somebody with a disability, kids or adult or whatever, you just don't know what to do. So if you can get over that little hump of fear and realize that they're a person just like anybody else, may have some challenges. They're not second-class citizens or anything, So we help churches get comfortable with kids with disabilities by offering a program called Buddy Break, where we take people who know nothing about disability and just teach them how to love kids for 3 hours so that people like Shauna can get a break. If she needs to take a nap, if she needs to go grocery shopping, clean her house, whatever, she can do that for 3 hours. And so it doesn't take a degree to be able to be the hands and feet of Christ to love somebody,
Well, you were in that position at one time, right? You had, tell our viewers again, I know we have you on every single year because we think your story is so compelling, and not only the story, but what you've done and the legacy that precious little Nathaniel left. So what is Nathaniel's Hope?
Well, 20 years ago, it's hard to believe 20 years ago, we were thrown into this community of disability when God brought Nathaniel into our life. He was born with lots of special needs, and he spent the first 3 months of his life fighting for his life in the hospital, and then we
we came home and our nursery was like a hospital room, and his care was 24/7. At the time, we had a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and honestly, we were absolutely overwhelmed, at that point. And so we took care of him for 4.5 years, fighting for his life, and then, unexpectedly, he had a change of address from earth to heaven. And when that happened, we felt like this wasn't the end; it was the beginning. Like, we were put in a community we didn't want to be a part of, but now it was a community that we couldn't leave. And so we started Nathaniel's Hope, and our mission is to celebrate kids with special needs, to celebrate them, and then to bring hope and practical help to families impacted by disability. But we really believe that the local church can play a huge role in welcoming families in and kind of walking this journey with them, because it's a long journey, and so there needs to be a support system to make that happen. So we help equip the church to do that.
Through Buddy Break, and what else?
Yes.
What else is the
so we have the
church
respite
doing?
program, Buddy Break, and now we're actually in 28 states. We've trained churches in 28 states.
Amazing.
And Puerto Rico.
Wow.
And our goal is to, partner with 1,000 churches by 2020. Yeah. So always looking for churches to learn how to, take care of kids. We have a birthday club where we send a little version of that bear to kids. We have over 12,000 kids in the birthday club now. We send cards on their birthday to remember kids that get forgotten. So if there's any kids with special needs, they can sign up for free for that. At Christmas time, we do a big toy store in Central Florida that provides toys for families that might need a little, are in financial struggle, and we know the pocketbook is always stretched for families that have kids with special needs. Right. And then we do a big festival called Make 'Em Smile, which we like to think of as the biggest party celebrating kids with special needs.
And it's his birthday party too, Nathaniel's birthday party, right?
Yes. So we can't do, his birthday would be June 6th. We can't do a birthday party for him anymore, so we created this event.
I love this.
Always the first Saturday of June in Central Florida that celebrates kids with all types of special needs, who we call VIPs because we hate the term disabled, handicapped. Right. But that could be kids that have physical, cognitive, life-threatening illnesses, hidden disabilities, kids that are medically fragile. We kind of open up our arms to everybody, right. And also not just kids, but as our kids grow up into be young adults, we're like, come join the party. We want you to be at the party, you know.
They do need to sign up to go to the party, right? To be a VIP.
Yes. So last year we had over 45,000 people at this event, over 3,000
You're going to go for
VIP
the first
kids.
time, right?
Yes, I am.
It's going to be fun.
You are going to love it. I've been many, many years, and it's one of the highlights of my year. It is wonderful. Bounce houses, free food, Chick-fil-A again?
Chick-fil-A will be out there. We have petting zoos and llamas, and we have, water events. We have over 50 characters out there. I mean, the community really comes together. So this day is to celebrate kids with all types of special needs. It's their day to be celebrated. But then the community comes out to kind of be friends and to kind of interact. And sometimes, because we're afraid of what we don't know, we want to create opportunities to build relationships and to bring your family out and maybe get to know a family that, you are nervous to get to know and not realize that, all families have the same needs. They need to be loved. All families need Jesus, right?
Yes.
All families need to have community together. So we're trying to provide that through Make 'Em Smile.
Let me ask you this, Shauna. If you're at church and you have these 3 boys with you, which I know you do, you go to church.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you ever feel like people will come up to you and ask you, and try to get to know you, or do you feel like people shy away from you because you have 3 guys that don't look exactly like everybody else and maybe they don't behave like everybody else? What is your feeling?
Yes, because since Clishan, went through the chemotherapy, you have to wear a mask, they'll come up and say, what happened to him? Is he dying?
What's wrong with him?
But yes, they have their challenges where they don't stay still and it's up, and somebody at church will come and say, Sister Shauna, would you like me to take the kids for
they
you
do that for you.
and sit with the kids? Yes, they do. Now they know my situation.
Yes.
Before I didn't open up to a lot of people.
You did or did not?
I did not open up to a lot of people, and that's where I fall short. And as I grow more in my church and the community, I get to understand that I have to tell people in order to get help.
Well, because people won't know.
They won't know.
You look pretty put together to me, and you're beautiful,
Yes,
and it
ma'am.
looks like, hey, you're lucky. You've got 3 kids. But if I were to just come up to you, and this is a challenge for all of us as viewers today, just go up to a mom or a dad with special needs kids and just say, what can I do
to help?
Right?
Yes,
what
ma'am.
can I do to help? If I were to ask you that, what would you say to me at church? What can I do to help you?
Just continue to pray for me and my family, and prayer do help. When a lot of people come together and pray, you find more result in in the community.
What do you think the future looks like for your 3 boys?
The future look bright. I trust that, God gonna lead us, and He is healed. My kids are healed, and it's just the doctor to put everything in place now, and
But they can live long, productive lives.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, we are trying for that excellent, long, productive lives where they can go out as an adult, where mommy don't have to be there or a caregiver have to be there to take care of them. So we are trying for that, and we hope so.
I want to say, Barbara, prayer is super important, but also being practical. You know, like being practical. If you're going to the grocery store, call mom up and say, "Can I get you something at the grocery store? Can I take your kids to church? What can I do? Can I come mow your lawn? What can you do? Like maybe you don't feel comfortable caring for the kids, but you got to care for the mom. And the practical needs that happen. And she's in this, and we deal with families that are in it for the long haul. We have one mom right now we're working with whose child's been in a hospital for 100 days, over 100 days now. And so she's trying to manage life and do things. So what could you practically do? Can you bring a meal over, But most of these families, they're on a journey for life. It doesn't stop when your child turns 18 years old, because oftentimes parents roll into being a caregiver for the rest of the life, And sometimes it's just even saying hi. If you see somebody in the community, at the grocery store, at church, just say hello. Don't walk away like, oh no, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do. Just say smile and say hello, and make a difference in someone's life.
Let me ask you this question, because I've even had this challenge before, Marie, at Make 'em Smile, where somebody's in a wheelchair and your first response is to, hey, how are you doing? And then talk to the mom or the dad and say, oh, what can I do? Or what's wrong with your child? And I mean, there's so many things that I've learned from you all, and so many things that I'm still not doing right. What's the right way to approach somebody in a wheelchair?
Well, I think, anybody with a disability, you talk to them like you talk to anybody else. And that's where the fear factor comes in, because you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm doing this right. But the one thing I would say is love never fails, right? So talk to the person. If they can't answer you, the caregiver is going to jump in and help out, Be sure that you ask maybe yes/no questions instead of long statements, that's going to require a long answer, But always talk to the individual with disability, and you just kind of get over the hurdle. It's a personal hurdle sometimes, because, we just feel like, well, what if we don't understand them? What do we do, But oftentimes think about how frustrating it was for the person who may have a challenge in speaking, that they have a trouble communicating, and they're trying to, I always say there's a person locked up inside it. How do we pull that out? How do we pull their thoughts out? How do we really bridge the gap in understanding, what they're trying to communicate back with us,
Do you ever wonder, and Shauna, you and Marie both can answer this because you're both moms of special needs children, do you ever wonder why God allowed Nathaniel to be born, Clishawn, David, Tristan? Why are they here?
God gave me them because He know that I can take care of them.
Good.
Yeah, and I think, I think that, like Nathaniel never walked or talked or ate with his mouth, right? But he was part of the body of Christ, right? So if you don't include kids like Nathaniel, it's like you're cutting off the elbow, the nose, the shoulder, a part of the body of Christ that's important, right? And there's things that kids with special needs can teach us that my typical kids could never teach me, about perseverance, about unconditional love, about long suffering, all these things that, are valuable lessons to be learned that these kids can teach us, And then, I think instead of asking the question why, like, well, God, why? It's like, what for? So it's like, what for? In our case, we know that Nathaniel changed our life, and because of that, he's changing the life of so many others,
Hundreds of thousands of people, absolutely. So Nathaniel, Make 'em Smile, the event, again, for our viewers, is June the 3rd. And whether you have... Sorry, June 2nd, a Saturday. Thank you for that. I've got something going on June 3rd, so I'm glad I can be there June 2nd.
Yes.
But I do want our viewers to really hear the importance of coming alongside the special needs community, the VIPs, the very important persons that God created with a purpose. And to go to that event, whether or not you know somebody, you'll meet somebody that day. And if you want to sign up to be a buddy, you might have a child at home, and that child doesn't really have a great heart for service. You can instill that in your child by signing him up with you and going there and being a buddy and just walking around Lake Eola with that child and talking and learning to be a buddy, somebody who just comes alongside and loves on somebody. I remember, Marie and Shauna, the first year that I did that with my daughter, I believe it was my second daughter, that we walked around the lake with a girl who had serious special needs. But we went away feeling refreshed, not just because we were grateful for what we had, but we really felt like in serving in that way, we had a better understanding of what some of these moms and dads
are
going through.
Yes.
I mean, do you ever get discouraged, Shauna?
No, Clishan used to go to UCP, and I never know about special need kids. And I went there and I saw a lot of them in a wheelchair. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And one day the owner said to me, "Why are you crying? Is something going on at home?" And I said, "No. I just feel sorry for the mom that I can't help them to take care of the kids." And that's how it led me into working with kids in a daycare. So sometimes some of them need hug. As you were talking about the ones in a wheelchair, you have to go down to their level, eye contact, let them know that you are talking to them, not the person, who's taking care of them.
Well, and I think another important thing is, is including kids that have disabilities in regular life things. Like if you've got a child and you've got somebody in your community that has a disability, invite them to a birthday party, invite them to come over to have a play date, because oftentimes these kids are ostracized, they're not invited, they're isolated away because people are just, nervous about it. But oftentimes that's, I know what makes a mom's heart sad is that their child doesn't have the friendships, because they're not like the other kids, but there's still so much purpose in these kids' lives, and they're a kid. They want to be like any other kid, and they're not, like I said earlier, not a second-class citizen. That's right. But they all have, their VIPs.
Well, you're a VIP, and you're a VIP, and I thank God for the ministry that you have had through Nathaniel's Hope. Make them smile. These are incredible. It's an incredible event, again, on June 2nd at Lake Eola. If there's any way you can just stop by for a few minutes, or if you want to sign up to be a buddy for somebody, your life will be changed forever. And for Shauna Campbell, the courage that she has to be here with us today and to bring her 3 beautiful sons, I feel like our lives are richer as a result of having met her and met these precious little boys. So again, the admonition, I guess, for today and the encouragement is to become involved with special needs families in and through your church, your neighborhood, your workplace, wherever it is. It's very important. Ladies, thank you again so much for being here with us today. God bless you.
Thank you, and have a blessed day.
Thank you. Well, stay with us, viewers. We have more coming up. You're going to be inspired.
Hi, I'm Johnny Erickson Tata. Life is hard, and I mean it. And I can honestly say when it comes to dealing with a chronic condition, life only gets harder. It's why I hold into 1 Peter chapter 1, which reminds me that, quote, in this, that is, in my condition, you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. Tell you what, all kinds of trials is right. Quadriplegia, depression, breast cancer, and chronic pain. But I tell you what, the smile on my face is real. How so? Well, my chronic condition is only for a little while. It's momentary compared to the surpassing glory that my response is accruing in heaven. I mean, knowing that, I can hold on a little bit longer. God's grace will get me through. And His grace will get you through. Even when you feel like you cannot take it anymore, the God of grace is there to catch you with His everlasting arms. So can you do it? Can you rejoice with me, though now for a little while you're suffering all kinds of trials? Jesus says in Matthew chapter 24 that he who stands firm to the end shall be saved. So friends, stand firm. One day, you and I are going to look back, and not only will the suffering have passed, but it will seem like just a little while, really only momentary. That is God's promise, so join me in believing it and living on it. today.
I hope you enjoyed our program today. When we talk about serving the underserved, we might be wise to ponder why God made these special people in the first place. We all know God makes no mistakes. Well, recently I interviewed Nick Vujicic, a young man who was born without arms or legs. As I interviewed this world-renowned evangelist, author, and motivational speaker, I noticed a tiny bird had landed at our feet and looked up at us as if to say, "I came to hear Nick too. Don't forget about me." Well, distracted by the bird, I brought it to Nick's attention as he commented that it was a sparrow and how God cares for us even more than that little bird. Do you remember the song, "His Eye is on the Sparrow"? Beautiful message about if God's eye is on the sparrow, we know He watches us too. This truth comes from Matthew 6:26 when Jesus says, "Look at the birds of the air. They don't sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they?" Well, God cares for Nick, even though he was born with no arms or legs. Bullied in elementary school, 10-year-old Nick contemplated suicide until he realized that God created him with a purpose. And what a purpose indeed. Nick has spoken to over 8 million people around the world, including the United Nations. He unapologetically encourages people to put their faith in Jesus Christ and to live their lives with purpose. Nick understands challenges and obstacles, yet he's an overcomer. He swims, plays golf, skydives. He even types 45 words per minute. He is living proof that with God, nothing is impossible. Nick even keeps a pair of shoes in his closet just in case God chooses to heal him and grow him some feet. He lives life without limitations. That's the kind of faith and courage that I want to be living. The day I interviewed Nick was really cold and our set was outside. I wore my heavy winter coat and Nick asked me to adjust his jacket as he was cold too. Well, imagine having to ask a stranger for such a simple task. I remember about midway through the interview, my nose started dripping. I know that's gross, and a talk show host shouldn't have to face such an embarrassing dilemma, but hey, I'm human, and I was cold. I had no tissue on me, and I couldn't stop the interview. So I just hoped the camera was focused on Nick as I used my coat sleeve to wipe my nose. Awful, I know. But I also thought, what if that had been Nick with the drippy nose? He had no way to take care of such a personal problem. I was instantly grateful for the use of my limbs and happy that Nick didn't have to ask me to wipe his nose on camera. Well, I left the interview with Nick wondering why I ever complain about anything. With each passing day, we're all growing weaker and older, but our daily challenges pale in comparison to Nick's. I can pick up my Bible, easily flip through the pages. I can read a devotional. I can jump up to go to my next activity of the day without so much as a thought about how grateful I should be for my health. I can adjust my own jacket, wipe my drippy nose, and take care of all my personal needs. Nick had to be carried onto the set by his assistant because he didn't want to do the interview in his wheelchair. He wants to live a normal life, but he's anything but normal. Nick is a superstar, a star for Jesus, and I was honored to spend just a few minutes with him. I came away encouraged and reminded to be thankful to God for the little things, to see those around me have value, even if they're disabled, and most importantly, to live my life for Jesus. We all have purpose, regardless of our circumstances and challenges, and we need to be about that every moment of every day. And that, dear friends, is our note of hope for today. Thanks so much for joining us, and God bless you.